Okay, our next speaker joins us. Well, I guess you've been living in Valencia now for a couple of weeks or months, but joins us all the way from Bristol in the UK. He's just visiting. Unfortunately, he's going to be leaving us and moving on his European journey after this. So we're very fortunate to have this evening Dennis, who's going to talk to us about security and also somehow coconuts as well. So let's give it up for Dennis.
Thank you. All right, everybody stand. Yeah, one of those. Yeah, we're gonna play a very simple game. I've been practicing Spanish, so more es silento. Simple, very simple. I'm gonna make a statement, and if you agree with the statement and you think it's true, you sit down. If you don't agree with the statement and you think it's false, you just stay standing. You don't sit down, you stand. Okay? Are we ready? Everybody understand? Coconuts are the best, and I love coconuts. All right, let's begin. So, I'm joking, you can sit down. Hi, my name is Dennis. I am from the UK. I grew up in London, and I spent most of my time in the UK in Bristol, and went to uni there, finished uni, different jobs, programming jobs, back-end engineer for Ruby on Rails. I now work for a company called Ably. They do real-time technologies, so push-pop technologies, basically. If you know Pusher, like that, but better. It's very cool. I manage work on the back end of the website, the dashboard, and all that kind of fun. But today, we're here to talk about security. Now, before that, this is called the coconut belt. The reason why it's called the coconut belt is because this is the region where there is a lot of sunlight. Coconut needs a lot of sun. There is a lot of the swell drainage, and the swell is quite fertile. So in that region, most of West and East Africa, the Southeast Asian islands, and some of the Americas, you find abundant coconut trees everywhere. And it's pretty cool. And because of this, we don't actually know where coconuts come from. They can come from everywhere because coconuts are buoyant, right? They float. So humans still haven't found out the origin of coconut yet. So it could be anywhere in one of those regions. That's a fun coconut fact. So that's it. Thank you. I'm joking. So why do we care about security? Anybody? Why should we care? Any thoughts?
To not lose money.
To not lose money? Yeah, it's a good one.
To not be the subject of the media investigation.
Absolutely. Yeah, you don't want that. I mean, they'd say all PR is good PR. No. Some PRs are bad PRs. Yeah, you don't want that. Any others?
You want to maintain the integrity of the message.
Absolutely. Yeah, you want to maintain the integrity of the message.
Data privacy, resource saving.
Yeah, definitely. These are all valid reasons. For businesses, one of the reasons why they care, and it's the same reason why coconuts love to have the hard shell around them, right? They're protecting something inside. There's something precious that everybody else wants, but they're going to make it harder for you to get to it. And for businesses, it's customers, right? That's why they exist, to serve them. So if without customers, there's no business. So they protect them. But why do we care about our customers? Anybody? Any thoughts?
Because they can bring you money.
They bring you money?
You have a moral imperative.
Very much so, yeah, moral imperative.
We want to keep our customers happy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And think about it, the audacity of these attackers. We built this world. It's our world. How dare they come attack our customers? We've promised them safety, come use our app, sign up, and then they're not safe. No, screw that. So we want to do everything we can to protect our customers, because at the end of the day, we're building this for them, right? So this is the shape, this is the inner section of a coconut. And those are all the different parts of a coconut. And you can see that the layers and how millions of years of evolution have got a coconut to think I need to keep everything out. The tiny bit there is actually the embryo. Everything else is there supporting it, feeding it, nutrients, and just protection. And obviously it's gone through all that effort to protect the embryo, and it can make sure that it can get to a safe place so it can grow. Security is similar, right? Our applications we build, they're very similar. We have all these layers on them to protect the core center, which is the customer, right? From the physical devices, the laptops, the servers you were talking about, to the network layer where how the data travels, to the application itself, the code you write, the logic that runs. And then ultimately, I know a lot of people like to think it's a bit reductive, but I think all web developer jobs are just fancy data analysts, data inputters. We build forms, many different types of forms, fancy ways, but we collect data, we put it in a database, and we bring it back and forth. Every single application that runs on the web that uses data, that's what it does. Takes it in a form, puts it in the database, when the customer needs it, brings it back, and puts it back in front of them in a fancy way. So we're just like a fancy Excel sheet. But so we go through all that effort in the end to take the customer's data and protect them. So let's go through some of these layers and see what you can do at every single one of those steps to try and protect yourselves. This is by no means an exhaustive list. This is just the pain in the ass experience stuff I've dealt with. I'm sure that other experts will tell you many different other things. The ultimate best answer, it depends, but if you want to have the best security, hire a security expert. That's essentially it. But there are things you can do in the meantime to protect yourself. And it is almost crazy how people put so much money into media and adverts and just very little into security, which can be a right pain in the ass. So hopefully some of these tips are new to you and you take them on board. And if you already knew it, great, then this helps reinforce that. Goes without saying, just put passwords in your laptops. I don't even think you can not have password these days, right? You'd have to really go through a lot of effort. My friends used to just have one. I'm just like, yeah, it works, but, secure your laptops properly. When you walk away, just close your laptop. We have a thing at work where we just send messages from other people's Slacks when you see them, right? Dennis is the best. Sure, you left your Slack open. Anybody could be walking by. So just lock your laptops. A lot of security issues are human error, right? No actual software. So by trying to eliminate yourself as a vulnerability, because you're the most vulnerable component of the software you build, by just locking your laptop. Sometimes you forget. Sometimes I'm just going over here for a second. That's all it needs, right? Keep your laptops up to date. They're really annoying. Obviously, choose when you do them, never in the middle of projects. But no, in seriousness, keep them up to date. There are a lot of nasty vulnerabilities that are out there, and just up-to-date software, not a silver bullet. Sometimes it hurts us because in order to secure things, we need to make things slower, right? Like the recent Meltdown inspector bugs. That, unless you change your computer, tough luck. But that's good. That's fine. It's better than what's out there. Institute a recovery plan and backups, everything. Plan how you're going to recover things if anything goes wrong. Have drills, Sometimes you can just make sure that your backup is up to date. Absolutely, secure backups. Just practice what you do, not just on your Macs, on the servers themselves, wherever you're hosted, whether it's Heroku. Come up with a disaster recovery plan. Imagine you're just knocked down like that. What do you do? And have institute a plan to get back, because that's important. To back everything up, every single thing. This could be backing up the backups. We have a backup that backups hourly to S3, and then we have backups on that S3 buckets. So you never know what could happen. But they found out. Has anybody heard of this company? That's a good reason. Danger they were the precursor to the smartphone world. They had these things. They were like these hip tops. They call them Danger hip tops. And they actually could connect to the internet. This is back in the 90s, like late 90s. That was revolutionary at the time. And obviously connecting to the internet means collecting data. And they were pioneers, unfortunately for them. They collected a lot of data, and they had email, they had, messages, everything in the cloud, your calendar invites. It will save everything in the cloud, and you just get onto your hip top and you're good to go. So much so that Microsoft bought them. And then they had a catastrophic data loss. We're talking over 6 months of customer data loss. And they tried their best, and they were only able to recover about 6 weeks of that. Because they were at the forefront of the technology. They didn't have all these lessons that we've learned. It's because of teams like this. And then half of those people went to build Android. So that's, it's danger. So back up everything and make sure your backups are safe. Now let's get to the network layer. You hinted a little bit on it earlier, but yeah, always use services with TLS and SSL. They're just secure. They're secure for a reason. They're built for a reason, right? Unless you know what you're doing, sure. But if it's new service and you don't really know it, just make sure it has some kind of secure layer on there. That inverse goes true. When you build connections and stuff, always use secure layers, right? If you're going to build things, I think most of these things is even free now. You can have HTTPS for free, right? With Let's Encrypt. So there's really no good reason to do it, because the time you're saving is going to cost you way more. So yeah, always build your services with TLS. And encrypt critical and sensitive data. Obviously, that just goes without saying. But yeah, so in transit, if you need some sensitive data to be in a cookie somewhere where it's secure, sending it to that cookie, however you're doing it, just make sure that it's some kind of security, some kind of encryption on there. It's obviously not like gonna stop a lot of people. If they're really, really malicious. That's the other thing to point out. All these steps are not going to stop someone who really wants to attack you with all the resources they have. They're going to get through. Imagine Google still gets attacked, Amazon still gets attacked. They all have vulnerabilities. Uber had a vulnerability not too long ago, and they get taken down. So these measures just slow them down, right? It's like locking your house. It's not going to stop a burglar, but it will stop an opportunist. It will stop the script kiddies. It will stop a lot of things. So yeah, just encrypt them to just stop the scanning, the bots, just the basic stuff. Stay well informed. GitHub is really good at this. All your repos, maybe a lot of you probably just ignore them, but you can add security scanners on them. I'll touch more on that later. But you can, every now and then, if you see that number goes up, just go have a look, see is there any vulnerability, my app I should be aware of. And then even if it doesn't concern you, but now you know. So when you build some other feature, some other app, you can keep that in mind. Obviously be mindful of open and public Wi-Fi. These days, they mostly have passwords, and that's fine. And most websites use HTTPS, so anybody snooping really won't get much. But just be mindful of it, downloading stuff. Some Wi-Fis are like, download our app to get access, those kind of stuff. I mean, if, there's a dodgy Starbucks, maybe be, mindful. Now let's go to the application layer. This is the part that you guys come in more often, the software developers. Not a lot of people do this, and they're so easy to do. You just configure them and you just let them run. Audit your dependencies. We're talking NPN. There's an NPN package you can have, NPN audit. If you have in the Rails ecosystem, there's bundle audit. I'm pretty sure that there are auditing packages for other package managers. Install them, use them. You'd be surprised. We did it one time and we had like 1,000 vulnerabilities in our packages. And I'm like, yeah, we haven't updated anything for a while. So Yeah, most updates are not what you think. You're not going from different version levels. It's like patch level updates, security updates. Those don't change your application, but they're crucial in terms of security vulnerabilities. I know a lot of people like to say, update time. Sure, have a look. Is it going from 1.1.1 to 1.1.2? Update, right? And if it breaks your code, then go to the repo and be like, why are you making breaking changes on the patch update? So automate it. Once you're informed and you know, then you can update and patch. Like I've just touched on, just make sure you always have the latest patches, right? If you're on an old version of a software, there are still security patches until it stops being supported. Then just update your system anyway, right? But yeah, again, you might be saving time and money by not updating, but you don't know, and it could bite you. Implement proper logging. This is not just good for the security, it's just good for developing. When things go wrong, how do you know what happened, right? Same thing is true. A lot of our, in the bounty program we have in our company, a lot of the times when researchers do things, we looked at the logs and then we go, they went from that page to that page. How did they get to that page? From there. And you can kind of see, the logs through it, and it just informs you of all the requests and everything that comes through your application. And again, if you do have login, don't put passwords in there. Don't put critical information in there. You can filter them out. Most frameworks do that by default. Like Rails, they do like Rail passwords and other stuff, and they just hide it. Sometimes they go too far, but one of them censored the word admin from all of our logs, and I was like, why is there asterisks everywhere? But they do it for a good reason. But yeah, don't put passwords in logs. Stay up to date with the latest vulnerabilities. I just touched on this earlier. Again, most of the vulnerabilities are not going to affect you, right? And it's one of those things where we only know when there's a big one, when there's like, there's Spectre, and then everybody is in the news, and then you know about it. But way more happen, and they happen with frequency, and you don't even need to action on them. It's just about knowing. This one is a really relatively one to do. Most people have capture on their blogs and stuff. Do that. If anything, to slow down bots, any forms, because those bots they're just automated. Someone runs a farm and they just hop from IP address to IP address, and they come across your website and they go, a form, I'm going to type things in. And then the more things they type in, eventually, I don't know, maybe it sends a signal back to the mothership to say, we found one, and then they can, really send you spam. Rate limiting is important. If someone is excessively hammering your site, you can scale. How long are you going to keep that up for? So learn to limit the rates and then just have better bot protection all around. And keep environment variables away from the code base. So many times, and people keep saying it. I keep reading blog posts that are saying it, but then there are loads of GitHub repos still with it. So something is not getting through. So just environment variables, keys, passwords, anything, right? Even if you're just putting here, just going to test and you replace it later, it's in Git history. As long as it's in Git history, it's public, unless you delete that repo, it's out there. Don't even put it there to test and you remove it. Once you commit it and you push it, it's out there. And then you can't, because that's the whole point of Git, right? Don't even commit it. Don't even put it in code. And most frameworks have really good ways to handle environment variables now.
But don't use environmental variables. Don't use environmental variables.
I mean, sure, but on webs, how are we going to put all our keys and environment variables to connect to third-party systems, right? There are better ways to do it, sure, but most people don't have time to implement like keys, like a signing key structure with AWS or something else. If you're going to do it, just, do it properly. Never trust customers. We love them, we want to protect them, but don't trust them. Because they could be anybody, right? And I think a lot of that isn't just that everybody is not. Don't take a cynical view of that. It's just that they can hurt you by accident, right? You can create a brand new form saying, "Hey, enter your phone number," and then someone tries to send you an emoji. Everything breaks. So yeah, that's just don't trust them, as in don't trust their data, right? Always make sure. Implement auditing and access logs. Again, this is more specifically to customer data, databases and things like that. So if you have a database with loads of people can access it, just have some kind of access login records. If you're using most, like enterprise software will have these kind of features. And just auditing. Know if your data is changing. If you have critical piece of data that can change and that can affect customers, log that change. Who made that change? Was it an admin? Was it someone? Just putting this login in place means that if someone gets access to the website and they do something, you can know whose account it was done through, right? And then you just have a reference to come back to in case of incidents. Limit access to the data. If you don't need it, you don't need access to it. Not because that you can do something wrong. It's because, well, if everybody have access, more people are a target, right? So it's to protect themselves as well. So you can limit the access to the data if it's not needed. Not everybody needs access to it. And sometimes some services charge you more for access as well, so you've been saving money. And don't miss, if you have a form and you're taking input from customers, some programming languages are really good at allowing you to use to kind of what's called meta program, so you can use variables to call code. It's very risky, because if someone realizes that's what's happening, then they can write other code that you didn't intend to call, right? So unless you know and it's cleaned and you're just expecting a very specific set of words, you can just ignore all user input as codes to run commands and everything else. Comply with data regulations. This one is just criminal, right? So it's not even good advice. So just do it. GDPR is so easy to be uninformed with GDPR regulations and to break it. Loads of people do it. Obviously, they're not targeting, little people, but to get in the mindset of it just means that if anything comes up, you're covered. And then that way they give you tips as well, how to protect customer data, right? And then those tips actually tend to help. And as someone mentioned, it's that integrity thing. If customers know that you're careful and treating their data well, then maybe you can build trust with them. That's it. Any questions?
I have to say, I'm disappointed by the amount of coconuts that we saw. We were getting into something really interesting there. I wanted to see what was going to happen next. No, but thank you very much, Dennis. That was really fun. Any questions?
I was wondering about different tools that you can give the user to authenticate themselves, like different types of keys or usernames and passwords and different systems like that. You didn't mention that, but I guess that could be a security risk.
Yeah. Sure, a lot of people are going away from passwords because everybody is always online. If you want to use my website, you need to be online. I'll send you an email. Those multiple factors are definitely a play. These days, all banking apps have like a phone authentication or something else. So yeah, absolutely, because just being customers, being the developers, we're not just the weakest part. The customers can be too. So you just give them tools to authenticate and use different factors. If the service offers 2FA, use it. If it's for like your GitHub or your cloud infrastructure and stuff like that.
There are third-party app providers now who provide the login
Yeah.
security. So so you don't have to worry about they stole the password. Well, Google does to some extent.
They do, yeah.
Okta.
Yeah, Okta, yeah, Duo we use as well. They're really good, those ones, and they handle a lot of that for you.
What
Yeah.
if you're using one of those services or storing them plain paper?
Ooh, it depends. It depends. If you like, I don't know, playing it dangerously and risky, and it's easy to read the customer's password from plain text. So yeah, if that's your goal.
or for personal passwords, for example.
For what?
Or for personal passwords that you store at home and, for example, the bank account.
I personally use 1Password these days because it's just easier, and or all my old things are, in Google, and everything else has 2FA around it. And using 1Password has been great because I don't need to remember any password. They're all different passwords. Yeah. So
1Password. Do you put your 2FA factor in 1Password as well?
no. My security guy told me off. I was screen sharing, and he's like, "What are you doing?" So I don't do that anymore. I use my phone for it.
That's one of the craziest, I think, features that they have added. I think they just break everything. To do that.
Yes, I agree. It makes people lazy, and once people get lazy, it makes it easy.
What's your best advice for a growing startup company, tech company, to get into that security culture or mindset? Because as you said, it's not only the software developers; it's like everyone in the company that needs to get into it.
Yeah, definitely. If you have a bit of capital to put towards it, I would check out companies, because there are some subscription ones that will run tests. They will get you trained for phishing and really basic non-technical stuff. We use one called Ninjo. It's really good. It sends you like a 5-minute video to just inform you of basic stuff. And for developers, just these tips kind of I've shared.
Include security and automation process.
Absolutely, that's what I was going to say. And scanners, anything to automate things. Basically, a lot of the grunt work, you try and outsource and automate to systems as much as you can. And everything else, you just be more security minded, no writing passwords down or sharing them in files. Have 1Password, for example. And then when you can, hire a security expert. That would be my advice.
We spoke briefly about the NPM audit. Are there any tools out there that you would recommend that sort of do that for you? Like, I know I've heard of Sneak before.
So GitHub does it. If you have a GitHub repo, you can turn on Dependent Bot, and it will go through and send you alerts even weekly on your emails to tell you of the packages. That's the one I use mostly.
I personally use a tool. His name is Dependency Check. And I just put it in Jenkins job, and they do the work on every push.
Yeah.
So it's for Java.
It's for all dependencies.
You can use it for NPM audit. So if you have a CI, Circle CI or something, you can say, as part of the CI check, run this audit command.
And is there a newspaper or website to prevent critical vulnerabilities?
A website to prevent.
Website or newspaper, or I don't know.
To-
They do the sort of top 10.
Yes, top 10 OWASP, yes.
Mhm.
Yes, I know. But there,
I know in a Linux kernel there are, I think there are some huge number of vulnerabilities even reported every day. I mean, you have to really update the kernel every week. I mean,
Yeah. I think you can sign up to newsletters, and they will cover stuff monthly or something. But I think find your ecosystem and focus on that, right? Because like he mentioned, there's like a lot to subscribe to, right? A lot of vulnerabilities in different places. So if you use a stack, find that stack, see if they have a vulnerability group or a security group, and then join that.
Maybe take one final question.
Thank you. That was a great presentation.
No worries.
Actually, I would say that I was surprised you didn't mention to encrypt our backups. I'm talking about
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Also, the typically in companies or That's kind of becoming tiring, and I found that users they try to bypass that.
Mhm.
So, do you recommend any kind of solution so both sides can be happy at the same time?
Yeah. To your first point, encryption at rest. That's a great point. I forgot that. So yeah, once you encrypt your databases stuff, once you back them up, you can encrypt them and store them away in cold storage or something. But I think a lot of people think making the process complicated is going to make it more secure. That's just going to frustrate everybody, right? And this is why I am actually loving the passwordless systems of logging in. They're just removing a lot more friction. And I know it's tedious to go to your email, but every single one of you can check your email in less than a minute. If I was to ask you now, right, you can have it open. So I think the less friction you create for users, and the better. And you don't need to. Less friction doesn't mean less secure. So I think a lot of people want to be seen that they're doing secure, like enter 20 characters with different symbols and stuff. They've proven a lot that that's not actually any more secure. So yeah, I think the company needs to just listen to their users. That is a pain point, and come up with a way to make it secure without making it, cumbersome.
Incredible. Okay, thanks very much, Dennis.
Thank you.
So guys, final thing to say is thank you to Commerce Tools who are hosting us this evening. Thank you to Nico who's standing at the back for staying here. We have lots of snacks left and loads of drinks and beers and Coca-Colas and everything. We can stay here until 10 o'clock. Yes, of course. And I totally forgot to say that our sponsor for the food and drinks is a company called Monad. I'll put their information onto the screen so you can have a look at the jobs that they're offering. But apart from that, thank you to you guys for coming and for being a great audience. That's it.
Thank you.